Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today we got some more Boomsday Project card reviews for you guys, and we have a special consideration for basically a whole bunch of legendaries. Legendaries are being revealed, so legendaries are being reviewed today. More so than I thought, in fact. Typically they reserve the legendaries for the main official card reveals, but it seems like they've been pretty generous this time around for the content creators. We're in the content creator card reveal time. So what do we got? First off, we got a few non-legendaries, of course. Crystology. So this is a paladin spell that draws 2/1 attack minions from your deck. So you might think you've seen this card before, but you haven't. The one you've seen draws 1 drop minions, 3 for 3 that is. This one gets 2 for 2, but they're 1 attack minions. Now there is some notable synergies here where you can get, some maybe like some of the tars, maybe. Those guys are pretty good. Get some taunts in the way. At the end of the day, if you have decent cards with 1 attack, this is a draw 2 cards for 2 mana. So just by nature, it's pretty good. A lot of people look at this card and they think, how can you use this card to the best possible effect? Where it's not really that. This is basically just a conditional but discounted card draw. So if you're playing any kind of combo paladin and you have one attack taunts in your deck, it's just efficient card draw. That's all it is. It's efficient card draw, which means anytime there's a good paladin deck, this card's going to see play. Other than that, it's going to be difficult. First legendary, we have the Hunter non-spell legendary. We have Boommaster Flark. Now, this guy is a 7 mana 5/5, which is obviously not great in terms of stats, but he summons 4 bombs. 4 bombs. And the bombs, oh yeah, you better believe it. They smork. They smork real hard. They do a lot of damage. There's a lot of death rattle triggers in Hunter, and there's certainly some cards that Hunters can use to boost the attack of the guys on the board. There's actually a lot of different tools, and those are certainly, those 0/2s might seem harmless, but if you design your deck well enough, you can have a lot of minion buffs, and those can become constant threats throughout the game that later on, when killed, become even more constant threats to killing off your opponent. Now, I imagine a legendary like this is pretty good, but largely conditional on what the control and combo decks are doing out there. We know that Hunter does a reasonable job in just about every meta of keeping up with Zoo, mid-range, aggro, whatever it is. Hunter has the tools largely in its core set. That's not the problem. The problem is how effectively can the control and the combo decks deal with the chip hero power damage. That's really it. So that'll be once again the question, but if those control decks, if those combo decks struggle to deal with the chip damage, Boommaster Flark should be a very strong candidate for that deck. 1-drops from Warrior. We got Eternium Rover. It's a mech. It's a 1 mana mech, and I did mention after we saw a few of the synergistic mech cards that basically require you to have powerful 1 mana mechs, and there really weren't any good 1 mana mechs. Well, here we have it. It is Warrior only, however, which really pushes the already good, from what we've seen so far, Warrior mech archetype. So it looks like Warrior's back. I think this is basically the sealed deal. When this main takes damage, gain 2 armor. That's not a huge effect, but it's a 1 mana 1/3. 1 mana 1/3s in tempo, in aggro, in zoo decks. They are devastating. They're so powerful. We literally have people playing 1 mana 1/3s with no text. And this, it has text, and it's a mech. This card's ridiculous. It really is. It is the icing, it's a cherry on top of Mech Warrior. We're definitely seeing Mech Warrior after I've seen this card. We have a neutral mech. It's a mechanical whelp. It's a 6 mana 2/2, and it summons a 7/7 when it dies. And that's alright. That's a decent bit of stats. I don't know if it's constructed decent. Also, in the past, I've overestimated crap minions that turn into really good minions when they die. And this is exactly that. This is a crap minion that turns into a really good minion when it dies. It's also a mech, so maybe the magnetic mechanic can change that around a little bit, but I'm not too confident this time around. I think while this card is maybe a little bit better than the old trash minions with good minions when they die, it's still not a lot better than what we've seen in the past. And what we've seen in the past hasn't made the cut yet, so we'll see. Hunter, it's not a mech, it's a tech. It's the Fireworks tech. It's a 2-mana 2/1, so well statted for a Hunter deck, and it gives a mech +1/+1, and it triggers the Death Rattle effect. So it meshes very well with the Hunter legendary minion that we just talked about. You get those bombs. Those bombs are going to be on the board basically forever until your opponent's dead. So you're going to get triggers for a card like this. You're going to get the Death Rattle effect. It's a pretty nice card. We're going to have to see more powerful Death Rattle effects, I imagine, from mechs, but still there's a lot of cards left to be seen. So while this card, I would say, doesn't have enough synergy yet, by the time we see the rest of the cards, that could easily change. Shaman spell, we got Eureka. It's a 6-mana spell, summons a copy of a random minion from your hand. So it's interesting because it summons a copy, not the minion directly, so you still get to play it later. That's very significant there. And yeah, there's a lot of combo potential here. You can get yourself a 6-mana Malagos. You can get yourself a 6-mana whatever the hell you want. You can more easily do a Kel'Thuzad super combo wombo multi-Kel'Thuzad Reno in Wild if you wish. There's a lot of cool stuff that can happen off of this card. It's very combo centric. Shaman has the tools to stay alive in a control, in a combo environment. But really the question we have to ask is, how much better would this be than Shudderwock combos? And it's really hard to compete with Shudderwock. So I feel this card is an extremely good card. We might see some wild play out of it, but I think in standard, there's too many supportive combo cards for Shudderwock, and this card and Shudderwock are essentially exclusive. They are at odds with one another. You can't use both of them in the same deck. We also have the Warrior Legendary. It's the Boom Ship. It's a 9-mana cost legendary spell. How about that? And it summons 3 random minions from your hand and it gives them Rush. So it might not look very good because it costs 9 mana, but it's not bad. A lot of the traditional control warrior decks play like this. Gain armor. Gain more armor. Kill your opponent's stuff. Gain a lot more armor. Continue to kill your opponent's stuff. Run out of cards, have the exact few cards you need, do some burst damage, and hoping that your opponent is not playing a control deck so the burst damage actually kills them. So this card helps you do that. So if we have traditional control warriors working out, it's a great card. You're going to get 3 big minions up on the board, or if you wish, it has excellent synergy with the I don't know what it's called, the Devil Sword, the Charge Devil Sword. It's got a 7/7, and the charge goes on top of the Rush. So if you got 2 of those bad boys in your hand, along with a Leroy or a Gromash you can activate, you can do near 30, certainly easily 20 charge damage. And considering warriors have a lot of weapons, and you're not always playing against armoring up control decks, that is often enough going to be sufficient to kill off your opponent. So it's a great finisher card. In terms of tempo decks, I think it might also be decent. When thinking of like the mech archetype, there might be some big mechs that people are playing, so it might just be an efficient way to dump them. And dumping cards is okay if you end up, being like Dr. Boom mode, which is the other new warrior legendary. So this card on a base power level is not high, but it actually does fit into prior warrior deck types and what I would think future warrior deck types. So it's a good fit on a bad card, and that's fine. Missile Launcher. This is an interesting one. It's a 6-mana 4/4 mech with magnetic. Yeah, okay. And at the end of your turn, deals 1 damage to all other characters. So where is the synergy here? It just does damage to everything. If you're playing single one gigantic mech thing, it's pretty good. It can gain you a lot of life if the thing you magnetize on top of has lifesteal. And there are some notable hilarious effects, kind of to get your brain working a little bit here, because there's more to it than just that. So take, for example, Snowchugger. Yes, Snowchugger is a wild card right now, but who knows what mechs we'll see in the remaining set? Who knows what mechs we'll see in the set after that? We're going to have a lot of cards in Hearthstone. And Wild, which is like the dump of all cards, is going to accumulate these combos, and this is certainly a combo-tastic card. So if you play Snowchugger, then you magnetize Missile Launcher on the Snowchugger, it will literally keep every player and every other minion frozen for the entire game. So basically, you just wait and the card solos everything if it doesn't get removed. Well, what if you, on top of magnetizing this on Snowchugger, magnetize like some cannot be targeted card? Well, I guess we don't have that yet, but it's a warrior one. Who knows? Maybe we'll get one. Well, there you go. That's basically a one card, just destroy, annihilate everything card. So you can see just how devastating the combos can be. There's no one mech with poisonous right now, but if there becomes an easy way to attach poisonous to a mech, you could have a poisonous missile launching minion that kills every single minion at the end of every turn. So the potential synergies for this card are game breaking, even though the card standalone is rather weak. That really doesn't matter just because the combo potential is so extreme. Academic Espionage. Rogue spell, 4 mana, shuffle 10 cards from your opponent's class into your deck, and they cost 1. Crazy, right? That is crazy. That's extremely, extremely good. So the idea with this card, we saw previously the legendary spell for Rogue draws your entire deck. So if you draw your entire deck, you still have a lot of cards in your hand. Then maybe you play this and then you don't mill yourself to death. You don't fatigue immediately. And the card you're drawing cost 1. So I've played a lot of decks that generate just like random stuff. I've played, Renounced Darkness a lot. I can tell you that the average card from your opponent's class generation thing is total garbage, guys. Absolute garbage. You have to get super lucky for any of these cards to be any good. The average card in Hearthstone is Rash tier. So you're not going to get that many good cards, all right? But it's not about getting good cards. It's about getting good cards on a super discount. It's the super discount that we really have to look at. It's the fact that even though you might get a super garbage 6-drop from like Warrior, well, it's going to cost 1 mana. It's still going to be totally insane as a 1 mana card. So that's how you have to look at it. You can't play this when you're just out of options. This is a card to constantly fuel tempo on the board, so you can play this in addition to your normal deck's cards. So, if you have like an 8 mana turn on turn 9, then you just get a 1 mana card, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. It's just going to be incredibly powerful. So if that's what you're looking for, to sustain that, you're going to need to play a rogue deck that has a lot of draw and a lot of sustain. So it doesn't really fit into any of the existing rogue types, but that might not matter because we might have some new rogue decks coming up in the expansion. Hopefully we do, and hopefully it's not too oppressive because the baseline power level of this card is really high. Just don't know if it fits in any deck yet. So that's kind of the issue. We have a legendary paladin card. How about that? We have Crystal Smith Kangor. Somehow it's not a mech. Kind of really, really looks like, I don't know, it's crystals and shit, but that's like a robot, dude. Anyway, Crystal Smith Kangor. It's a 2 mana 1/2 with Divine Shield and Lifesteal, and your healing is doubled. So that's pretty cool. It can be quite difficult to remove minions, as small as they may be, that have Divine Shield. So getting this guy out there or just doubling a Lay on Hands or some other healing effect might be something a control deck could take advantage of. I'm not sure about that. I also don't think the lifesteal mechanic has worked out for more aggressive, more mid-range style paladin decks, as, well, you either play aggro to kill off your opponent, or you play control where there's better control tools. So this card is very much in the middle, and again, it's a high power level card, but it really doesn't fit in any deck I can imagine seeing viable right now. It's going to be a tough card to utilize, but I really like it. I think it does have some real potential, but I think it'll take some time until people figure this card and the accompanying deck out. Mage card, we got more spell damage. It's a 4 mana 4/3 elemental. That's important. Spell damage +2. Still not sold on the whole spell damage thing for Mage. There's a lot more cards now, but why not just play Tempo Mage? There's enough draw. There's enough burn. Why do you need spell damage? I don't know. This is, the way I see it, just a really good arena card. This card is spectacular. If they keep the current occurrence rates in arena, with Blizzard being the #1 most common card for Mage, this is totally ridiculous. Playing this along with a Blizzard, playing this along with even like an Arcane Explosion is just totally game breaking. So this is an outstanding arena card, but I think we're not quite there yet with the constructed spell damage theme, but who knows? We'll see. Well, we got another mage card. We got Shooting Star. Deal 1 damage to a minion and the minions next to it. So it's kind of like a little splash effect. Very effective for spell damage hits. But again, I still don't think we're quite there yet. But this is a really nice little card. Shrink Ray. Set the attack and health of all minions to 1. So it's basically like Peacekeep Everything and Equality Everything, but it's for 5 mana. And even Equality is not a good enough standalone card. People use Equality because it's cheap. 2 mana. 2 mana, 5 mana. 2 mana, 5 mana. 2 mana, 5 mana. So yeah, it's alright. Obviously, if people are playing just a lot of high stat minions, you can see a meta where Shrink Ray is outstanding. But we're not there yet. I have played, or attempted to play Control Paladin in the Witchwood meta, and it has failed spectacularly. So I haven't seen enough Control Paladin cards to really say that the deck is going to fly off or anything, and I'm not even sure I'd include Shrink Ray in the Control Paladin deck if I did even play it. So I'm not convinced yet, but I'd love to play Control Paladin again. Lastly on the list, we have another legendary minion. It's the Rogue legendary minion. It's Myra Rot Spring. It's a 5 mana 4/2, so we are Stormpike Commando stats on this one. This is some really horrible stats. But the Battlecry discovers a Death Rattle minion, and you gain its Death Rattle. That's pretty damn good. So you get the card, you get card advantage, you get like +1 discovered card that's easily worth a mana, and you get the Death Rattle effect. So you're looking at like maybe a 3.5 to 4 mana 4/2 with potentially extremely powerful Death Rattle effect. That could be really good. There are some tempo rogues out there. Like I can see people playing this in Odd Rogue. I think it is single-handedly good enough to see play in Odd Rogue. But I'm not like 100% sure on that, and I don't know what other deck would make use of the card. So once again, we have a card that very high power level, but fairly misfit in the decks that we know currently exist. And the reason I keep bringing that up is we have this like optimism when a new expansion comes out. We think every card can work. We think every deck we can possibly imagine can work. But it's not typically how it ends up after like a week or so. How it ends up after a week or so is like 90% of the decks we think will work don't end up working. So a lot of these cards are going to be really fun to play, to try, live your dreams. If you think this card will work, if you think any one of these cards will work, do it. Try it. Be the first to do it. But, it might not work out in the end. So do it while you can, have fun while you can, and I hope you guys enjoy the review and the first few weeks of the expansion alongside my stream where I'll be doing just that. I'll see you guys tomorrow.